Some of you were there in my previous webinar, and a number of you, actually, texted me asking me, can we have more clarity? And I'm sorry if the previous webinar did not give you the clarity. Although I must say we have a number who've chosen the program, and I'm really excited. And they like just simply jumped in. They were like, I'm on. I was like, yes, let's do it. But for all of you who asked that we would like more clarity, we thought we would schedule another webinar so we could give you more clarity around your questions around what this program entails. So, when a number of you have known me and have seen me over the years change my life, almost my work with my energy work, my work with energy so-called, started about not really long ago, about just about 12 years back, 12, 13 years ago now. And when I started with that, I was struggling in my lowest phase of my life, if I can put it that way. It was the vibration that I was at was so low that what I was really inviting into my world was obviously matching that. So I had, I did have a lot of issues with my body. I had something called fibromyalgia. I had, we were struggling with some very, very close relationships. I was really struggling with them because they were really important to me, and I could see them simply falling apart in front of my eyes. And I was doing everything to kind of keep it together, to maintain it, to hold it. And I just couldn't. And it was literally falling apart in front of me, literally falling apart. And I was like, this is not what I want in my life. I want this person in my life. And I remember being like, if this person leaves my life, my whole world will come to, my world will break. What am I without this person? And I remember at that moment, it was like, it took me a lot of work with the tools of access consciousness, which actually brought me out of the lack and the need and the holding on to, and the if I can use the word, the need to have others validate my life, including money validate my life, including my body validate my life, to actually feel happy and feel good about myself and like myself. And now when I look back, I recognize that the world that I was in, the world that that I had created for myself, was literally what was told to me is important. A good relationship is important, friends are important, money is very, very important, a good body is important, you're lucky if you have good health. These were all the different things that I had grown up hearing. And I had somewhere programmed my nervous system to be in connection with those points of views. So I would always work with, what I would always look at what's wrong in my world, what's wrong in my body, what's wrong with my relationships, what's wrong with the money flows that I have and I don't have. So I could change it. And it was only with the tools of access that I recognized that, hey, there's nothing wrong with my life. There's nothing wrong with me. Everything's a choice, and I can fucking change this now. Whatever's not working for me, I can change that too. And that gave me a lot of power. It gave me a lot of power. It gave me a lot of awarenesses. It gave me a lot of me. And in the process, I just love the tools of access consciousness. For all of you who know me, I'm an access consciousness junkie, and I just love the tools. And somewhere I started to recognize that even while using the tools, even while having changed my life from 0 to 1,000, that I can actually call it now, I have one pattern in my life. I have one pattern that I could not change. And that was the pattern of going from 0 to 10, and then coming back again to 0 to go to maybe 12. And then again, coming back to 0 to maybe go to 15. And then again, coming back to 0 to maybe go to 20. Now, the interesting part, the zero never stayed the same. The zero was never the same. The zero always came a little forward. So I felt that I was moving forward, and I was not able to actually recognize that I was still looping backward. So, does this seem familiar to any of you? Is this what you find yourselves doing, that you move forward, but you also move backward a number of steps, and then you move forward again? But again, you move back, and you move back to such an extent wherein you you really you really have to give up a lot of what you've created. You really have to give up a lot of you in that moment. So, is this familiar for any of you? Is this what any of you do? Yeah, Shilpa. Hi, darling, you're on mute.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Nice, thank you.
So, did you mean that you do that, Shilpa? Do
Sorry,
any
no, I just
Karuna?
joined in, so I don't know what's
Oh,
going on.
okay. Awesome. Wonderful. Okay. So, Karuna, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I think I've realized this in my relationship patterns, be it with my parents, be it with my partnership. In fact, coming up with a dysfunctional family since the childhood, I have seen that I have taken a lot of burden to fix my relationships.
Yeah.
And then being like, I've tried being bold, I've been creative, I've been isolated, I've been done this and that. And it's like I take 10 steps away from everything. Like, I will not tolerate the shit.
Yeah.
And then deep down, I go back to the same scenario
Mm-hmm.
with the willingness to save a relationship. I
Mm.
mean, on this current moment, I am apparently too broke to even work, to eat, to sleep. And I am still willingly going back to this one step back just to save a relationship. Whereas I see that I take 10 steps ahead daily in my mind that I don't need to be in an abusive relationship, be it is created by me or anybody. But I see that the steps, the more I take steps, like it's like 10 days, 10 steps I'm taking ahead. By the evening I'm taking 7 step back and like making it very okay. Okay, nahi, this 7 steps back will help me to go back, and that is the calm state. Whereas in there is nothing calm, and then I'm like, okay, if I take the 7 step back, I'll pull the person and me, and maybe together we can take 15 steps ahead.
Yeah.
But in the end, maybe I take 15 steps ahead, then the person is left around. So
Yeah.
it is like, yes, acceleration and then brake and then reverse and then acceleration and then no way to be found types.
That. Yeah. Thank you for that, Karuna. And that's not just in relationships. How much of that do you do with money? That, when you receive too much money
Everywhere,
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 because
Chandana.
it's a pattern, right? It's a pattern. It's a loop, and you
I
don't
mean,
even realize that you're doing this. You don't even
it 3 months. I am on a verge of asking someone else to give me food. I mean, that's extreme of me. I mean, I don't have words to explain. I'm literally lost words for
Yeah.
it. But then I'm literally sitting at someone else's place right now because I am unable to bring up anything. I'm even unable to make rent of my month. And it's like I'm just sitting at someone else's place because I am unable to function at all with it.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you for your vulnerability and for talking about this, and knowing that there's a different way that's possible. See, when you come to something, to a webinar like this, you come to a call like this, you come with a knowing that something is possible here, something can change here, something, and we're all looking for that one tool that can change it. But the thing is that we're looking for that tool outside of us. But the tool is who we be. The tool is who we
I
be.
want to mention one thing.
Yeah.
I've seen these three patterns whenever any relationship has broken down.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a loop of being hospitalized, nervous system breakdown, my career breaking down, my worthiness breaking down. It's always on the loop. It's like different phases, but the result orientation of anything and everything comes. But yes, since it's repeating too much, I'm aware of it.
Yeah,
So effects maybe doesn't stay 40 days, but it stays 39 days. But it
yeah,
is
yeah. Thank you for that. But you see, this is something that yours is you recognize the level of where you're doing this, so you're very aware that you're doing this. But this is also about where people are not even aware they're doing it because it's so subtle. It's so subtle that you feel, oh my God, I created, like, maybe let's look at maybe 5 lakh rupees I've just created in a matter of a week. And maybe for somebody that's a lot of money, and you're like, and next week there's no money coming in at all, or there's some unseen expenses that suddenly show up, and you're down to 2 lakhs. Now that's your comfortable area. And you're like, okay, now I can start again. I got to create money again. The following week, again, you'll create money. So you're like, wow, I'm creating. See, I have money for my payments. See, I managed to create. So you're kind of happy that you're creating, but you're not recognizing this little pattern that keeps taking you back to give you a forward momentum. What if you didn't need this pullback? That pushback that planes do? What if you didn't need that to go forward? What if you could just keep going forward? And not that going back is wrong and moving forward is right. Please, this is not about making your movement right or wrong. It's not about how you create right or wrong. It's really about recognizing what is a pattern. If this is a pattern in your life, you have become comfortable with lack. You've become comfortable with less. You are comfortable with a certain space that you have defined as you. And every time that you go beyond that, the discomfort of being more pushes you back so you can actually be comfortable again. So I'd like to ask you, what does having more, what does being more bring up for you? Like, what does it bring up for you? Hi. What does it bring up for you? Does it bring up fear? Does it bring up anxiety? Does it bring up, oh, but this can't be for me? Or does it bring up, yeah, maybe someday, one day, if I'm lucky in my next lifetime? Like, how far away have you put it from you? How much have you pushed it away from you? That every time you actually get closer to it, you become uncomfortable. You become uncomfortable because you decided it's way too far for me. You've got to actually go back so you can have that same level of comfort with what you're asking for. Okay, so something that I've written a few notes for my, um, for the upcoming series, and I'm just going to read some stuff that could probably contribute or not. So this is your personal program, okay? This is not something that is going to be, I'm not going to be following a certain, um, I'm not going to be telling. There's not going to be much of telling in this. I mean, this is a program that I created for myself. And what I do know about working with me is that questions work. Questions work, and answers will always limit me, which for all of you who've done access consciousness, you know that. And so this is not an access consciousness. It's not an access consciousness program, so to speak. But a lot of tools, a lot of questions are what I use from Access Consciousness also. Okay. And the beauty of this is that if you have got any other modality, if you've learned any other modality, bring that in, throw that in, see what it creates for you. So when something grows, more visibility, more responsibility, higher expectations, it asks more from you internally. In other words, it asks you to be more. All right? If that inner system isn't built yet, everything feels tighter. Your focus narrows, your choices become heavier, and moving forward takes more effort. Nothing is wrong. It just means that the demand has grown faster than your capacity to be present with it. Now, how many of you check out when something really big comes into your life? Like if you just receive money overnight, which is so much that you're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, how many of you just check out and you'll be like, I'm just going to go and sleep for now and I'll look at it tomorrow. Or you go into a freeze mode. Or you want to just not look at your accounts and you're like, I don't want to look at my bank. It's too much money. You know, these reactions are what will give you the information of how you operate with an energy. So nothing is wrong. It just means that the demand has grown faster than your capacity to be present with it. This is not fear and it isn't self-sabotage. This is a no acknowledgement issue of your capacity. This is where you have not acknowledged that you can be present even with so much. What have you decided is too much for you that you cannot be present with, and you must have somebody else helping you with that? That is a space where you will check out. That is a space where you will not be present. And now that's the pattern that you've fallen into, and you will go back. Because the moment you're not present with your choices, the moment that you're not present with, what you're creating, who's creating your life for you in that moment? So you've got to check out. And that is the moment where you stop and you go back. Okay. So this is really about looking at that moment and being like, no, I'm going to be present with it. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's super uncomfortable to have a relationship with this so-called mother or father or brother or sister or husband or friend or lover or whatever. It's really uncomfortable to be present with this person when he's doing this. But you know what? I'm not going to go back. I'm going to be present, even if it's really uncomfortable. And those are the few tools that, we're going to work through this together, of being present. So there is no going back. And that pattern that you have been struggling with since lifetimes, is because is the area of your life that you find yourself most comfortable creating with, even if it is ultimate crap. Because, your being doesn't know crap from magic. Your being knows creation. Your being knows, hey, let's play. Let's play. Let's keep playing. What are you choosing to create? Okay. So as responsibility increases, the internal system, which we call the nervous system, or we call, whatever names, you have given it over the years of learning, you literally, it asks you, can I be present with this? Or is it too much? When the awareness is not clear, effort and force increases. When effort and force increases, you actually push it away. You've all done, how energy works, right? So if you're going to just submit, and you're just going to be like, and you're going to be like, yes, I submit to this energy and I'm going to have more of this. This energy actually just comes into your world because there's no force and effort. But if there's force and effort, let me try and understand this. Let me try and fix this. Let me see what's going wrong. Let me see what's wrong about this. You start to be this force and effort with this energy that's actually been a gift for you, that actually was showing up as a gift for you. And that's where you actually push it. So when force and effort increases without sufficient internal strength, withdrawal starts to feel like relief. That withdrawal is the backward step, where you withdraw from the energy. You withdraw from the energy of money. You withdraw from the energy of a relationship that is too intense, that is, there's too much lust, or there's too much caring, or there's too much abuse. I mean, how many of you are just so comfortable with the energy of abuse? So every time that it actually changes to kindness, your pattern is to go back to abuse, because that's what's comfortable. That's what you know how to handle that. You don't know how to deal. You don't know how to handle kindness. So you actually check out. And then you believe that this person is being abusive. No, it's your pattern of comfort. So that's when momentum suddenly drops right after progress. You withdrew from your creation. You withdrew from your creation. I noticed in my life how much I would do that. I would create something and it would be so phenomenal. And just before it could actually show up as the brilliance of it, I would withdraw. It, you know, it's not like you don't want to succeed. It's not like you don't want to succeed. It is because the pressure has outpaced internal capacity. The pressure of having that, the pressure of having something new has outpaced internal capacity, because you believe that I don't know this energy. But is there anything that you cannot handle? Is there anything that you cannot deal with? Is there anything that you cannot be? If you were to acknowledge that you could be it all, would you step back and step backwards, or would you actually be comfortable with the new uncomfortable and just move forward? Okay, so when demand reduces, the system stabilizes and feels safe again. Now, this is the crux. When you go backwards, like in certain cases in a relationship, let's take, for example, if you are comfortable with abuse and suddenly you have this person being really kind and friendly and loving and caring for you, you're like, I don't know what to do with this. This is too much. I'm becoming successful, but I don't know how to deal with this relationship. I don't know if I want this. In that moment, you have made a choice to go into force and effort because you are in doubt. You're not being the flow of, yes, I'll have this, please. You're being, I don't know if I can, I don't know. So you've gone into this force and effort, you've gone into this push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. And instantly what you've done is you've stepped back to what you were comfortable with, which was abuse. Maybe less this time, maybe not as violent this time, but it's still abuse. And now that becomes your new zero that you think you can move forward from. But you still fell into the trap of the pattern of being comfortable. Okay. So, you as a being, you have created unconscious rules for yourself to live by. Unconscious rules, which are right, which are wrong, which I must do, which I must not do. You want to ask, what is your unconscious rule that you have based your life upon? What is that unconscious rule? And most of it is not yours. Most of it is something that you just learned to be comfortable with. You saw it somewhere, you picked it up energetically somewhere, you liked it, you wanted more of it, or it kind of perked some kind of interest in your world that, oh my God, how do they do that? And you go into this energy of, oh, that's a very, very different thing. I want to know that. So in that moment, you kind of invited that energy into your world. And now that becomes an unconscious rule. Now you have to play by the rule book. That we call programming, we call conditioning, we give it different names, which is why I'm like, hey, use the terms you want to use whatever is comfortable for you. It's not like I'm not going to, going to be telling you what to do and what to be here, but I just want you to get aware. I just want you to be more present. It doesn't matter whether you call it conditioning or whether you call it programming or whether you call it anything else. What is this that you have been following and falling into constantly? What is that trap? So let's look at how the system works, okay? The first one is going to be, we're going to separate progress from pressure. And when I say separate, I don't mean we're going to create a separation or something. We're going to be present with there's progress and there's pressure. But how many of you actually have decided that with progress, there has to be pressure? Like, have you decided that for me to move forward, for me to be successful, there has to be so much pressure of people, pressure of money, pressure of the CAs, pressure of family, pressure. Progress does not have to feel intense to be real. This is one thing that, I recognized over the years, that progress is really just a flow. And if that's something that you have been wanting to explore, if that is something that you've been wanting to be more of, I invite you here, because this is my world. And I haven't just reached this overnight. I haven't just reached the energy of progress, overnight. The pressure was there. The pressure came up constantly because that was my rule book. My unconscious rule in my rule book was pressure equals to progress, and progress equals to pressure. Hi, Chavi. It was a constant energetic correlation, and that there was no progress without pressure. But every time that you believe that is where you create the stop. So that's what I was doing with my progress. You want to recognize where do you do it, and what are we going to do with this? We're actually going to grow without the need, without the urgency. I want to do it now. I want to do it now. There's no frantic. See, a flow is not frantic. A flow just flows. There is no pressure. The next one would be presence with the space that you've created. The presence with the space that you created. Simply because if you're not willing to be present with the space, you're not going to receive from it. If you're in a constant running mode, there's going to be a moment of burnout. But the burnout is not because that's something that will control you. The burnout is because when you're running, you probably run so fast that the success is too much. So once again, you need to go to the comfort that we talked about earlier, where you stop yourself. You go back. Your zero is again different, but there's still a zero that you have to connect with, which is a backward movement, not the forward movement. Like I was sharing, the abuse may not be as intense as it was, but you still choose it. Can we please mute everyone? Thank you. You still choose the abuse simply because it's comfortable. You may not choose physical, you may not choose the violent abuse that you found yourself at the effect of, but you will choose financial abuse, you will choose a relationship verbal abuse, you will choose an emotional abuse. ML, can you please mute yourself, darling? Thank you. Okay, so the next one is you actually refine the system that you've just created for yourself. Now, if you're present with the new system, okay, you're present with the new space that you just created for yourself, Now, if you're really present, you now look at, wow, what can I add here now? What else can I do here now? What can I be with this? And you start to fine tune the system, your progress, so you can receive more from it. And then we start to internalize it. We start to be it. We start to be that energy of, yeah, I can be more of this. I don't need to run back. Because you want to recognize one thing. To move forward, you're already being it. Okay? You're moving forward only because you're already being it. But when you moved forward, it freaks you out because that what you're being isn't something that you were used to. It isn't something that you were comfortable with to begin with. It's something that you just stepped into being. So because you were being more, you stepped into creating more that the world looks at as success. The world will look at as progress. But what really showed up in that moment is you were choosing to be more. But as you moved forward, with all those points of views that are coming to you, internal points of views about you, you're like, how do I deal with this? Oh my God, this is something different. I don't know what to do with this. There's pressure, there's force, there's effort. Let's go back. Oh, thank God, I know this. See, no one's judging me. See, no one's saying I've moved too much forward. I'm still who I was. Okay, I was at 0, but see, now I'm at 5. So what if from 15 I came back to 5? That was my life too. I did that all the time. And that's when I recognized, I was like, what if I don't have to go back to the 5 or the 0 or the 7 or the 10? What if my 15 is my new 0 that I can only move forward from? I got to allow myself to be really present with that 15. And I got to allow myself to really know that, yes, I can be this. Okay. From there, yeah, this process requires you to own, claim, observe, and integrate your upgrade as a new you so you can step up even more with ease. Now, when you've integrated and you've kind of become that, now you can just move forward because that's you. Yes, Chavi?
I think you've just narrated what is happening in my world. Going to 15, coming back to 7, 5, and
Yeah.
then at times 0 as well. So this is me when I'm introspecting, when I'm asking questions, when I am looking what do I need to do again.
Yeah.
Uh, so again, this is a question which is very loud in my world at the moment. And correct me if I'm wrong. Like, my question is, my nervous system ready for all my desires?
Thank you for that. Now, see, like
And
you just joined us, but I was talking about this that we call it nervous system, we say it's programming, we say it's conditioning. These are all just different rules that you're playing your game by,
mm,
and that's like your rule book. You got to keep
mm,
into your rule book. You got to keep opening your rule book and seeing, oh, does this work? No, okay, no, right? The thing is that in this process, in this system, that's exactly what we are doing. We are integrating separate. The first process is, of course, and I'd really like you to hear the whole conversation that we started with. A lot of your answers are there. The first one is separate progress from pressure. Next is presence with the new space that you've created. The third is to refine the systems, to fine tune, to be willing to have it, to be willing to give up what doesn't work for you anymore. Not to fear that, oh my God, what if this person leaves my life? Or what not to fear? I want to hold on to this and I want to change and I want to be more. No, it's like, okay, I submit. I am ready to receive and be this, whatever it takes. That is you refining the system. And then it's the internalize the upgrade. Start to be it, not run away from it. Because what you stepped into, the greatness that you stepped into, that you created a new world with suddenly, is the forward movement. But if you were not to run away, run backwards from it, you could only move forward from there. So this is the way our systems this is the way I'd like us to work together, where we are actually going to be owning, claiming, observing, and integrating the upgrade as the new you. So you step up with even more ease. You're like, oh, but this is me. This is my zero. There's nothing less than this. I can't be less than this because there is nothing less than this. That is going to be you nurturing progress instead of pushing it. You nurturing progress instead of judging it. Okay, so progress doesn't require force, and relief no longer depends on withdrawal. This is a big one. In my world, again, I mean, like I said, I have literally put everything together based on how I found myself at the effect of, like I said, so much in my world has changed with the tools of access. So much in my life has changed. And the one thing that I learned from changing my world is to live in the question. And when I found myself choosing this pattern constantly, I went into question and I was like, what is this? What is this? And that's when, I got this energy around. And I really looked at and I was really willing to work with myself. I've actually really worked with myself and looked at what is my comfort zone with money? What is my comfort zone with people? What is my comfort zone with my husband, with my children, with my parents? What is my comfort zone with my body? There's a certain weight that becomes, in kgs or whatever, in pounds, that becomes your comfort zone with your body, that you're constantly struggling, which is what keeps the pattern of losing weight and gaining weight. It's again the progress with pressure. Oh my God, how did this happen? But I'm not comfortable with this. I got to go back so I'm again comfortable with my body as I knew it. Even if it means being unhealthy, even if it means being sick, I was comfortable with that. I knew what to do with it. So I've actually created certain pillars that this program is based on. And Mihira, can you please show us the slideshow? And that these are just, and like I said initially, I'm so grateful for everyone who texted me saying I didn't get total clarity around what this program is, which is why I was like, okay, I'm going to actually take out from my notes and get this all together to give you all more information. Not this one, darling. The one that I sent you, the new one, please. This is the previous one that we had shown in our previous webinar. Thank you. Okay, so there are going to be certain pillars, of creation that we're going to look at and talk about and go forward with. Pillar one is a wealth capacity. Money, this is about how much you can hold, how much you can have, not earn. Because like we talked about earlier, you could earn 5 lakhs in a week, but in the next few days, you could go create so many bills that you're down to 2 lakhs. So what are you willing to have? What are you willing to hold? What are you willing to be? Is the 2 lakhs, not more than that. So that's a pattern that takes you back. Authority creates momentum. Nothing scales past internal stability. Authority creates momentum. Now, does this mean that you have to prove authority or show control? No, it's an authority with you, that this is who I be. This is who I am. From here, I move forward. I am willing to have this money, even if it makes everybody uncomfortable around me, even if it makes me uncomfortable, even if I have to hire more people to handle my work with me, even if I'm willing to go forward, whatever it takes. Because I know my internal rule book. That's not the same as anybody else's internal rule book. You may have similar rule books. You may have similar rules as other people, but the same rule book you will not find anywhere else. You will have people running their life on their own rule book, which is extremely unconscious because every rule is a dead end. Every rule is a stop. So this is going beyond that and becoming the authority. When you be the authority with you, there's a forward movement that comes into your world that nothing can stop you now. There's just a flow. Okay, next, please. Pillar number 2 is a relational authority. Now, I really enjoyed exploring, playing with the energy of authority, because authority in my world is to have it with you, with yourself, not with people around you, but to be able to know what is true for you is the ultimate authority. It's not about making anybody else wrong. It's just about knowing that this is me. So the relational authority, relationships, which include power without control. Do any of us know of a relationship that is power without control? None of us know it, because if you have the power, you use it to control. And I noticed I was doing that in my relationships. And this again has come from my personal, like I said, all of this is me. It's like, and if this anyway resonates with you, you're invited to come join, because I've literally looked at this. I've sat with this energy for a while, and I've looked at how many places, the moment I be the power, I sense the power, I use it to control. And most of the time, I'm using it to control myself to go back. It's not just people. It's not just, people is just 1%, not even 1%, 0.1% of what I can control. I control my money flows. I control my joy. I control my receiving. I control the caring that can come into my world. I control everything because I believe I am the power. What if I could step aside, and allow myself to connect without collapsing? How much does connection require you to collapse? Like if I have to connect with my husband over a conversation that's really uncomfortable, maybe about something that I've been avoiding, and I have to connect with him and talk to him about it, I would already find myself collapsing even before the conversation started. I would collapse. In other words, I would go back. I would contract. I would go to the comfort zone in that moment of being small, in that moment of being less than, in that moment of being, I can't do this without him. That energy. And it was so instant that I recognized how many connections I was trying to create with people around me by collapsing, contracting. Even to the extent of, if I was to meet somebody who had, quote unquote, who had issues with money, while I was like literally creating this money in my life, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I would suddenly collapse because I had to spend an evening with that person. So I would contract my entire world so I could create a connection with that person. How much do you do that with people around you? You don't manage relationships. You set the tone. In other words, you lead. Are you willing to lead? Or are you going to be managing relationships? Are you going to be looking at, oh, maybe I can be more like him, so now we can discuss something and be happy together and create something here together, so we don't fight, so we don't have a conflict? How much of the relational authority is something that you're not willing to be, because in your world it means conflict? And that is the base of power without control. If you know that relationships do not equal to conflict, could you just be the power without the need to control? So look at all those areas in your life that you have been managing relationships. and ask, if I was to set the tone here, what would that be? How would I lead? So many of you are not even present with that. You don't even know what that means because you've never explored that energy because you've allowed the next person to always lead.
Like the question which is going in my head is that, oh, am I allowed to set the tone? It's
Yeah.
like it is always, I think we burden up this person next to lead the relationship.
Yes. And you feel happy being the follower because you, like we talked about in the beginning of the webinar, the progress is so big in your world that you believe that if I am to be this big and this person is not this big, then there is no connection. So let him lead, even if it means I contract myself. Let him lead and I'll just follow. Because that's a relationship in this reality. That's a relationship in this world. That's how we create connections. But what if you could actually create a connection without collapsing? This really is about the relational authority, the money authority, you leading it all, you being the authority without conflict. Okay, let's go to the next one, please. Pillar number 3, self-leadership. I love this. What is a leader? Is a leader one who needs followers? Like Gary says, no. Leader is not one who needs followers. Leader is just one who's willing to go on the path, even if it means he's alone. Leader is one who knows what is true for him. That is the authority. Who you are when no one is directing you. That is leadership. Who you are when no one tells you what to do. That is you being a leader. Leadership begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself. It could be you sitting on the pot. It could be you cooking. It could be you parenting. It could be you playing with your kids. It could be you facilitating, creating money, being a doctor, being a teacher, being whatever. Being the leader. If you are constantly looking for someone to direct you, to tell you, you've already given up being the leader. You have abandoned yourself. And we are going to go into very, very deep, we're going to go into very deep conversations and we're going to look at where we do this and how we stop ourselves and in these different pillars with ourselves and with, can you please give one more example? Yeah, sure. With leadership. Okay, so let's look at let's look at let's look at you. I mean, your life, you and your sister. You lived in India, you lived with your parents, and then you lost your mom, you lost your dad. Sorry, you lost your dad, and then you lost your mom. And that was not an easy moment in your life. You found yourself challenged, right? You found yourself at a crossroad, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go. But did you run to family and say, please help me, please tell me what to do, tell me how to do? Or did you say, okay, we got to change this now. What can we now do that can have us creating a greener life? What did you do? No one was directing you. You chose to go to London. You chose to create a different life. You chose. You didn't abandon yourself. You didn't feel abandoned. You grieved. Yes, you grieved. Your dad had moved on. Your mom had moved on. You grieved. You allowed yourself to grieve, but you didn't abandon yourself. That is leadership.
Can I say something?
Yes,
Uh,
please.
these are the bigger things. I think, I don't know, it's not thinking, it's like uh, the abandoning and the self sabotage happen on a very small, on a
Oh,
very
yeah.
low level.
Yeah. And we are going to talk about self-sabotage I'm going to talk about that. Yes, I'm coming there. which is the very foundation of your life, which is the very foundation of the rule book, which I recognized much just recently that I was doing that with myself. We will come there. Okay, let's go to pillar number 4, please. Strategic expression. Business. Your work as a reflection of clarity and not chaos. Now, I should have actually changed this to havoc because it's chaos is a creative energy, yes. But if you don't have clarity with it, if you don't have clarity with your business, if you don't have clarity with what you're creating, if you don't know where you would like to be, not as a conclusion, but as an energetic creation, your business will be confused because your business is a reflection of you. Your business will show up as a reflection of you. If you have clarity with where you want to go and what you want to do, you will move forward. Your business organizes itself when you do. Your business and you have to work together. And that is going to be our pillar number 4. And now let's go to pillar number 5, please. Body presence. This is, of course, one of my favorite areas, the embodied presence. The body, the anchor for everything, physical authority, voice, posture, breath. This is the receiver. What if your body could be the provider and the container? See, what we have looked at our bodies, and for many of you who've been doing access consciousness, or you've been doing theta, or you've been doing Reiki or pranic healing or whatever, not some of us do acknowledge our bodies, but a lot of us do not acknowledge our bodies from the space of embodied presence. We acknowledge the different parts of our body. More of a judgment than an acknowledgement. But I would like to invite you to being the embodied presence that your body is. Your physical authority, once again, we're going to go to authority. If you see a person that walks in sloppy, barely being able to speak, is not really communicating, not looking at you, not there's that energy. And then there's this energy that just walks in with a smile and a direct contact. And it's like, hey, hi. Which one would you get attracted to? The first or the second? Second, right? Yeah. The first is like, oh my God, why? Because the first one is it just wants to take from you. It's just not enough. It feels less. It's in judgment. It's not the embodied presence. It's checked out. It's not present. There is no embodied presence in the body. There's total checkout. But when you are present, there's an embodied presence in you, your body communicates, your body talks, your body's voice changes, the posture changes, the breath changes, and it starts to be the receiver that it came here to be. The receiver, as in it's the senses, it receives from everywhere, everything, all the awarenesses it receives. And now as it receives, how much can it receive to be the provider and the container? But it doesn't have to give up, doesn't need to give itself away. But are you willing to be the provider so you can keep receiving? If you are not willing to be the provider, will you receive? Or will the container that your body is be empty?
I didn't understand this.
So when you are the receiver, how much information are you constantly receiving from around you?
All the time,
all the time, right? It's a receiver. It's like those receivers that are up there that are receiving information from all around the universe. What if
Yep.
the
Yep.
body is that? It's a
Yeah.
receiver. It's receiving information all the time. And it's your
Hmm.
body like a container in the sense
Hmm.
it's got a form, right? So it's like a container, but it's receiving all the information. It's not saying,
Hmm.
oh, this is too much, give me less information. It's not saying
Hmm.
that. It's like, okay, cool, more, 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 more. And it's willing to provide.
How?
How?
Provide what? Like, and how?
What does your body? Okay, so let's look at this. If
Provide me the money, provide me the relationship I desire, provide me the house I want to live in. Will the body start providing me that?
what if it can provide you even more than that, and not just you? What if it can provide everyone and everything around you? What if you don't have to stop your body from being the provider?
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Happening.
Yeah, that. Because to be the provider, you have to be willing to receive. You cannot be the provider if you're not willing to receive. If you believe your container is too small, what do? You reject, you shut down, you go into shutdown mode. How much of that shutdown mode is when your body shows up with diseases, with pain? Because you shut it down. You said no more. But your body knows how to receive. My body is in rejection, hospitalized. Okay.
Can I ask one question? Again,
Yes.
receiver and provider. Okay,
Yes.
now here where what my situation is,
Mm-hmm.
receiving is happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Receiving and perceiving, knowing. I'm getting the information all the time. Now, when I get the information more than I need for this normal scenario or working like with friends, when even without they telling me what sort of relationship they have, I get to know,
Yeah.
and all other details.
Mm-hmm.
It now my question is that we get, like I was discussing with my sister, we get to know a lot, and that's why we are unable to sustain the relationship.
Thank you for saying that. You just said what this entire program is about. Now, you get too much. Is there anything that's too much for you?
No, but then I don't know how to handle the what I.
Yes, because you're not comfortable with that. Why are
Okay.
you receiving too much information? Because you're being that
Yeah.
energy of, I'm willing to receive more.
Yes.
So you receive.
Yes.
Okay, you're not in shutdown mode. You're receiving.
Hmm. Hmm.
But now you're being more, so you're receiving more. But this is
Hmm.
uncomfortable because this is not what I know.
Hmm.
So now builds up the pressure. What do I do with it?
Hmm.
You put the
Yeah.
force and effort, push. I don't
Hmm.
want this.
Hmm.
I don't know what to do with
Hmm.
this. How am I supposed to handle this? I don't know how to handle this. So now,
Hmm.
where you were just being that so much more energy, and where the universe was giving you exactly what you were being with way
Hmm.
more awareness, instead of being present and being like, okay, let's just allow myself to receive this. If I don't have to do anything with this, just receive this. Instead of
Hmm.
that energy, you were like, this is too much. I'm just going to go back. So you give
Right.
up
Right.
being, where if you were willing to be, the next, the space is the success that you've been asking to have. How many of you give up just before success? Because that is very uncomfortable. It's a new space. It's not what keeps you comfortable. You're looking to have a comfortable life. Comfortable life is where there is no creation.
Hmm.
So what if you could instead be so present and have that embodied presence with all the information that you're receiving that doesn't allow you to go backwards. You be present with it. And you allow it, you integrate it, the information, you integrate who you be. You start to acknowledge, wow, I received this information. This is amazing. Who am I? What if I could be more of this? And you start to embrace that energy instead of freak out with that energy. Most of you freak out.
So we'll add consciousness to our receiving as well. Because at the moment we're just simply receiving, and at the time we are like, oh, what to do next?
That. This is really about just being present. That embodied presence will allow you to be without going into reaction.
Oh. I'm just thinking out loud. So at the moment, problem is not receiving, problem is how to process and integrate what I'm receiving.
So that's what this program is about.
Mm.
This is, which is why I said that's what this program is, because most of us have done enough work on ourselves, okay? I mean, most of us, very few people who probably would come to this webinar who've not worked on themselves. But the one common share that I have received feedback from in classes is that, I created so much, but then I went back. I did this, relationship was going so well, but this. So there's always that but. Yes, we've all come forward. Yes, we've all changed. What if you don't have to ever go back, even that one step back? Not as wrong. Please don't get it. Don't get me wrong. It's not about judging you. It's just about allowing yourself to be more. To be more. That, yeah, this is me. And if it makes you really uncomfortable, so be it. I'm not going to contract. I'm not going to collapse. That collapse is so easy for everyone because we've done it so much in the past to keep others happy. What if this is not about collapsing anymore? Okay. Thank you, Mahira, for the slideshow. Okay, let's now go ahead with any questions. Anybody has any questions? All right. I'm going to talk a little. I mean, I have a whole lot of more stuff that's actually I would like to talk about, but okay, let's talk about this, which I find very, very interesting. Again, this really I've learned from working with myself and seeing how much I would stop myself from growing. So I recognize that the mind that we operate with, which generally gives us information, tells us what to do, how to do, is not just a single voice. It's made up of these different voices. It's made up of, it's made up of different energies. And it's like a friend circle, like a social circle, like a family that likes to work together. It's like, hey, me now, hey, me now, hey, me now. But there are these three different energies that actually create your mind. So the target of Beyond the Expected is not to eliminate the different parts. It is to help your being lead them and now integrate it as one. It's not about being like, oh my God, this is how I operate. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of it. It's really about acknowledging, oh, wow, this is how I operate. But beneath all of this is who I be. My mind doesn't allow me to show up. My mind stops me from being who I be. What if I could be me? So the first part of the mind is the watcher. What is the watcher? These try to keep you in control and prevent pain. They are the perfectionists. They're the inner critics. Don't do this, do this. You'll find a lot of people who are people pleasers who come into this category, who have this energy the loudest in their world. Then we come to the reactor. The reactor is when pain breaks through. The first one is, of course, when you're trying to prevent the pain, okay, which was the watcher. Then we come to the reactor of when the pain breaks through and they go into reaction. That in the moment of when there's reaction, you could either numb out, you could either freeze, or you could go into binge eating, you could go into addiction to alcohol, drugs, or you could explode in anger or self-sabotage. These are all different reactions. These are the emergency responders. You think you are safe. Then we go to the acknowledged, unacknowledged need. These are the ones that are carried from the past, where you were not acknowledged. You had a need, but it was not acknowledged. It could come from, a past lifetime. It could come from this lifetime, childhood, or at any age. It's when you have an unacknowledged need, it shows up as shame. It shows up as rejection. It shows up as fear and a lot of abandonment. Now, these are the three different energies that actually create your mind. Are we going to be on a slow train of finding the pattern? No, we're not going to find any patterns. We are going to be working with ourselves, and you will know your pattern. You don't need to find it. You will know it. And the reason why I'm going to be giving you all this information is for us to actually work through it, work around it, not see, in my world, I didn't know this existed. Okay. I didn't know that I was reacting. I didn't know that, when I was just numbing or self-sabotaging myself, I didn't notice the reaction. I didn't even acknowledge it. You cannot change anything unless you acknowledge it. So you will want to acknowledge what are your reactors? What do you go to? What are you comfortable with? So now you can actually change it. It's like, you cannot change anything unless you acknowledge it. It will control you if you don't acknowledge it. It will control you, even if it's subtle. That is a self-sabotaging space that you go to. And then beneath all of that lies the being, which is like, hey, I can do anything. I can create anything. Let's just grow. Let's just grow. Let's just grow. That's a being. It wants to play. It wants to fly. It wants to expand. It doesn't want to collapse, but the mind will keep making it collapse. And you want to look at which three of these energies do I work more with? And this is like just a little summary of, all the different areas that we're going to go to. And of course, we are also going to be talking about the Schadenfreude cycle, which some of you may have heard of, some of you may not have heard of, but it's actually a German word. It means it is that human feeling of taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune. It's like you feel that you are successful because somebody else failed. That is the foundation, the basis of competition. And
Or the
how much
opposite is also true.
exactly, how much of Schadenfreude do you do with yourself? This is really about, we're going to actually be talking about where you have created the Schadenfreude cycle, the loop for yourself, where you actually take pleasure in failing. You're like, oh, I just knew I couldn't do that. Yeah. It makes you feel good for half a second and then quietly trains your brain to be small again. In other words, you go back again. It's really interesting because I was one day just sitting and I was asking, I said, what is that one energy that I have been doing with myself that doesn't allow me to simply break through all these patterns? And I recognized that. And it's so funny because, the universe gifts you what you're looking for in a very, very magnanimous ways. I was just looking through, I was at a bookstore that day and I was just going through certain books. And I found this book on to some I don't even remember the name of the psychologist. He had written on the Schadenfreude, the energy of it. And I looked at it and I was like, I didn't even know the meaning. And I took a photograph and I came back and I said, this is the energy. This is what I'm looking for. And I Googled and I read and I read and I read. I spent almost a few weeks reading on it because it was so interesting. Because I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing with myself. This is what I'm doing with myself, telling myself that I'm right, that I'm wrong. That's so, it's not about cruelty towards others or towards yourself. It's about unmet self-worth. When you start to feel, when you start doing self-directed Schadenfreude, it occurs with and it occurs when identity stabilizes through self-limitation. You have identified yourself as a limited being. So you're not going to be comfortable with being more than that. You're not going to be comfortable without creating yourselves. You are going to collapse unless you question it. Yes, my dear Karuna.
Can this be that all of this loop of what you're saying can lead to identity crisis?
Yeah, this is an identity crisis also because you know you are this, but you're
Yeah.
forcing yourself to be this. The being is going to be in crisis. It can show up in your body, it can show up physically, psychologically, emotionally, financially, relationship wise. It can show up in all. That becomes an identity crisis, my darling, because you, the being, is not limited, but you have identified yourself as a limited version.
Like, for example, I'm very playful. Otherwise, the core of me is very playful, very flirtatious. In
Mhm.
a this way, flirtatious is like uh, grab the life from the neck and just play around it like a child and then just, do whatever it takes to be you. But then, as we're talking about the courtship of relationships and the foundations of me, whenever I get into the any kind of a connection that has, deeper meaning of what I'm looking for, which I haven't found yet, I have created the identity crisis for myself. Like if I'll fly more, because example, I'm not putting a blame on anybody else. Like someone says, okay, no, if you do this, you'll cheat me. So I'll stop doing that. And then somebody would like,
Yeah. That
no,
is
you have,
power. That is power with control
yeah,
because you gave them the power over you. So now they get to control you.
yeah. Like you can't go out because if you go out you'll do this. I know you using my past and then I'll stop using and doing it. And few days later I'll be told that I do nothing and then I do that. And there is a lot of fight between which identity I need to be with, because if I'm stepping out I was told I'm cheating, and if I'm
But
now stepping,
yeah.
and if then I step out, then it is called that you're lazy, you don't do this, you don't do that. I have to push you. So it has really kind of whatever you're speaking in this workshop and webinar. I can understand that, all of this has really created an identity crisis for myself.
But sweetheart, the thing is that every identity that you've decided is you is a limited version of you.
Yeah.
It is a
So
limited. Miyad. Hi.
Bye.
It is a limited version of you, Karuna, because an identity is what you've decided is you. You are not an identity. You want to break through all the identities so you can just keep growing. The thing about this is it's not it's not about creating an identity for yourselves. It's about expanding. So there is no identity that you can be identified as, because every identity is a limited version of you.
That is why that 10 step ahead and then 8 step
Yes.
behind
Yes,
is
sweetheart.
happening because
Yes.
I am limiting myself and in a loop in
Yeah.
order to prove, in order
Yeah.
to comfort somebody else who might be discomfort because of
Yeah.
their own past or anything.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter, don't have to be blamed. But then, yes, I am actually living someone else's life to ident to become something they're looking for, and I'm losing all those identities and the coreness of what I was and I am
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. So what if not, you didn't have to do any of all of that, and you could actually choose a life, create a life that was so magnanimous that just kept growing like a flow. No force, no effort, just authority of who you be and a flow. Would you make people uncomfortable? Yes. Would people judge you? Yes. Would people leave you? Maybe. But are you going to collapse for others, or are you going to keep growing? This
I
is
think
really about, yeah,
I've been collapsing because of the fear
yes,
of losing the one I want to be with.
yes, my darling, that. So what if from now you have the choice? What if from now you have the choice to keep growing? And that's the very foundation, the very basis of this series that I've come up with. I'd really like us to simply keep expanding, because there's so much for everyone on this planet. No one of us has to be the sole leader. We are all leaders. We are all leaders in our own space. We are all creators in our own space. What if you could claim that and integrate that so you could be more of that, instead of becoming uncomfortable with that and then wanting to run away?
Yeah.
That. Okay, so I just wanted to hop on, and I hope this has given you all more clarity, my friends, because for all those people who texted me saying, I need more clarity, I hope this has given you more clarity about what we're going to be doing over the next, how many calls do we have? We have 12 calls, I think. Mihira, how many calls do we have? Yeah, we have 12 calls, which is going to be twice a week. It's going to be 90 minutes each. And we're going to be actually breaking through the patterns that we have made, that we've defined ourselves as. And I would love us to be vulnerable enough with each other so we can actually contribute to each other. Because when you are vulnerable and you share your roadblock somewhere, hey, beauty, hi. She's my little friend who does classes with me.
She talking to entity also.
Yeah, talk to the entities also. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what we're going to be changing, working with. And we do so just because some of you didn't have enough clarity, I am going to be extending the it's the original price is 1,11,000, and for the first batch, it's 88,000. And if you are choosing now, and if you are paying within the next 24 hours, 5,000 rupees, which is, I think, $34 or something, something like that. The details Mehra knows. You get to join the program for 55,500. We have already, I think, 7-8 people who have signed up, and I am trying to limit this group so we don't have a very big group where, this, I want to make it like this personalized, this really personalized, like a private, personalized executive immersion. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, my sweetheart. That is the whole thing there. That's where you get the details. And yeah, so if any of you would like more information, you can always reach out to Mihira. She has all the details and she will very happily take you through it. We start on the 24th of this month and $5,056. Yeah. So we start on the 24th of this month and it's going to be every Tuesday and Friday. Yeah. I look forward to all of you who are going to be joining us. And thank you so much, my dear friends. Thank you so much for being on and for coming here today. And I look forward to us flying and not controlling.
Timing would be your 6:30.
Timings would be 8 to 9:30. So it would be 6:30 a.m. for me. No, sorry. What time did we decide? So many classes that are scheduled. I'm just going to check. 8:30 p.m. IST is the time, which makes it, which is 6 p.m. No, 7 p.m. for Dubai. And for me in America now, it would be 7 a.m. BST.
That means it would be 4:30 here.
Yes.
5, 8, 4:30, 3:30 at the moment, and in the middle it will change the time as the clock will come back to 1 hour
Yes.
less.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
my sweethearts. Thank you, everybody. I am so looking forward to what we can create with this first batch.